8-year-old Danny had a morning routine that never changed. Every single day he'd wake up to the sound of his mom moving around in the kitchen. The smell of toast would drift into his small bedroom, and he'd know it was time to get ready for school. But before he did anything else, before he even got out of bed, he'd listen to the familiar sound of his mom's footsteps walking from the kitchen to the bathroom and back again. Those footsteps had a rhythm to them. A shuffle tap sound that Danny had grown so used to. He could tell what mood his mom was in just by how fast or slow she walked. This morning, like every morning, the shuffle tap was steady and calm. His mom, Teresa, was getting ready for another long day at the diner where she worked. Danny finally rolled out of bed and padded to the bathroom. When he came out, his mom was already at the small kitchen table tying her shoes, the same white sneakers she wore every single day. Danny had seen those shoes a million times. They used to be bright white, the kind that looked fresh and new. But now they were more of a grayish color, with scuff marks on the toes and sides that wouldn't come off no matter how much his mom scrubbed them. But it wasn't the color that caught Danny's eye anymore. It was the bottom of the right shoe. The sole had started peeling away from the rest of the shoe about 2 months ago. His mom had fixed it with duct tape, the shiny gray tape wrapped around the bottom and up the side, holding everything together. Every few days the tape would start to peel off and his mom would sit down and wrap a fresh layer around it. "Morning, baby," his mom said, looking up with a smile. She had that tired look in her eyes that never really went away, but her smile was real. It always was when she looked at Danny. "Morning, Ma," Danny said, sliding into his chair. There was a bowl of cereal waiting for him and a glass of orange juice. His mom was already drinking her coffee, black with no sugar the way she always had it. Danny poured milk into his cereal and started eating. He watched his mom finish tying her shoes, pulling the laces tight and double knotting them. She stood up and took a few steps, testing them out. The shuffle tap sound was there, but now there was also a little squeak from where the tape rubbed against the floor. "Those shoes still holding up?" Danny asked, even though he already knew the answer. His mom looked down at her feet and shrugged. "They're doing their job," she said. "That's all that matters." Danny knew what that meant. It meant they couldn't afford new shoes right now. It meant his mom was making do with what she had, the way she always did. He'd heard her on the phone with the landlord last week, asking for a few more days to pay the rent. He'd heard the worry in her voice, even though she tried to sound confident and calm. Money had been tight for as long as Danny could remember. His dad had left when Danny was 4, and it had been just him and his mom ever since. She worked hard, really hard. She'd leave for the diner early in the morning and sometimes wouldn't come home until late at night. On weekends, she'd pick up extra shifts whenever she could. Danny finished his cereal and grabbed his backpack. His mom handed him his lunch packed in the same brown paper bag she used every day. Inside, he knew, would be a sandwich, an apple, and maybe a cookie if they had any left. "You got your homework done?" his mom asked, zipping up her jacket. "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. He'd finished it last night while his mom was at work. Mrs. Patterson from next door had checked in on him around 7, like she always did, making sure he'd eaten the dinner his mom had left in the fridge. They walked out of the apartment together, locking the door behind them. The building was old, with paint peeling off the hallway walls and a light bulb that had been burned out on the second floor for months. But it was home. It was what they could afford. Outside, the morning air was cool. His mom walked Danny to the corner where the school bus would pick him up in a few minutes. Other kids were already gathering there, talking and laughing. Danny's best friend Leo waved at him from across the street. "You be good today," his mom said, kissing the top of Danny's head. "And remember, Mrs. Patterson will be there when you get home. I've got the evening shift today." "I know, Ma," Danny said. "You working a double?" His mom hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, baby. We need it right now." Danny understood. They always needed it. He wanted to say something, to tell her that it was okay, that he didn't mind being alone, that he knew she was doing her best. But the words got stuck in his throat. Instead, he just hugged her tight. "I love you," he said into her jacket. "I love you more," she said back, squeezing him one more time before letting go. The school bus rumbled up to the corner, its brakes squeaking as it stopped. Danny climbed on, found a seat next to Leo, and pressed his face against the window. He watched his mom walk away, heading toward the bus stop where she'd catch her ride to the diner. He watched the shuffle tap of her steps, the way her right shoe squeaked with each movement. Something about those shoes bothered him today. Maybe it was because the tape looked more worn than usual. Maybe it was because he'd noticed his mom wincing a little when she walked, like her feet hurt. Or maybe it was because he'd heard her on the phone 2 nights ago, talking to her sister about how she needed new shoes but couldn't spare the money right now. Danny turned away from the window as the bus pulled away from the corner. He tried to focus on what Leo was saying about the new video game he'd played over the weekend, but his mind kept drifting back to those shoes, to the duct tape holding them together, to his mom's tired eyes and her determination to make everything work no matter what. He thought about the plastic toolbox sitting under his bed at home. His mom had gotten it for him last year from the thrift store for his birthday. It had come with a toy hammer, a screwdriver, some plastic nails, and a few other things. Danny had played with it for a while, pretending to fix things around the apartment, but eventually it had ended up under his bed, forgotten. Now, sitting on the school bus watching the buildings pass by outside, Danny wondered if maybe that toolbox could be useful for something real, something important. He didn't know how yet. He was just a kid, and what did he know about fixing shoes? But the thought stayed with him all through the morning, growing stronger with each passing hour. By lunchtime, Danny had made up his mind. He was going to fix his mom's shoes. Somehow, some way. He was going to make sure she didn't have to wrap them in duct tape anymore. He didn't know if he could do it, but he knew he had to try. Because that's what you did when you loved someone. You tried. The phone call came during Danny's math class. Mrs. Rodriguez, the school secretary, knocked on the door and handed a note to his teacher. Danny's heart jumped a little. Notes during class were never good news, but his teacher just glanced at it and kept teaching. Danny relaxed and went back to working on his multiplication problems. By the time the bell rang for the end of the day, he'd forgotten all about it. He rode the bus home with Leo, talking about nothing important. When he got off at his corner, Mrs. Patterson was already waiting outside her door, like she always was on days when his mom worked late. "Hey there." "Danny boy," she called out. Mrs. Patterson was older, with gray hair and glasses that slid down her nose. She'd lived in the building forever and had known Danny since he was a baby. "Your mama called. She's gonna be late tonight. You come on over when you're ready and I'll heat up some dinner for you." "Thanks, Mrs. Patterson," Danny said. "I just gotta do my homework first." Inside the apartment, everything was quiet. Danny liked it sometimes, the silence. It gave him space to think. He dropped his backpack on the floor and went straight to the kitchen. His mom had left him a snack on the counter, crackers and peanut butter, and a note telling him she loved him and would see him tonight. Danny ate the snack slowly, thinking about his plan. He still wasn't sure how he was going to fix those shoes, but he figured he should at least look at them first, try to understand what was wrong. He went to his mom's room, which was really just a corner of the living room sectioned off with a curtain. Her bed was neatly made, the way she always left it. On the floor next to the bed was a small plastic crate where she kept her shoes. All 2 pairs of them. The white sneakers she wore to work, and an old pair of black flats she wore when she needed to look a little nicer. Danny picked up the white sneakers. They felt light in his hands, worn down from so much use. He flipped them over to look at the soles. The right one was the problem. The bottom part, the sole, had separated from the upper part of the shoe. The gap ran almost all the way around. His mom's duct tape was wrapped around it, holding it together, but Danny could see that the tape was starting to peel at the edges. He pulled at the tape gently, trying to see underneath. It came off easier than he expected. Without the tape, the sole flopped around, barely connected to the rest of the shoe. Danny's stomach sank. This was worse than he thought. The glue that had originally held the sole on was completely gone, dried up and cracked. For a long moment, Danny just sat there on the floor, holding the broken shoe. He felt stupid for thinking he could fix this. He was 8 years old. He didn't know anything about fixing shoes. He didn't even know if shoes could be fixed once they got this bad. But then he thought about his mom's face in the morning, the way she'd looked down at her shoes and shrugged. "They're doing their job," she'd said. Except they weren't, not really. They were falling apart, and she was just pretending everything was fine because she didn't have another choice. Danny took the shoe to his room and pulled out the plastic toolbox from under his bed. He opened it and looked at what he had. A toy hammer, a screwdriver, some plastic nails that wouldn't work on anything real, a small tube of glue that had probably dried up by now. He tried the glue first. He squeezed the tube and a tiny bit of yellowish glue came out. He spread it along the edge of the sole, then pressed it against the shoe and held it there. His fingers cramped from holding it so tight, but he didn't let go. He counted to 60 in his head, then let go carefully. The sole stayed attached for about 3 seconds before it flopped back down. Danny felt tears stinging his eyes, but he blinked them away. He tried again, using more glue this time. Same result. The glue wasn't strong enough, or there wasn't enough of it, or maybe the surfaces were too worn down. Whatever the reason, it wasn't working. He looked at the toy hammer and nails. Maybe he could nail the sole back on? He picked up one of the plastic nails and tried to push it through the rubber sole. It didn't even make a dent. The sole was too tough. Even if he had real nails, Danny wasn't sure he could hammer them through. Frustration built up in his chest like a balloon getting too full. He wanted to throw the shoe across the room. He wanted to cry. He wanted his mom to not have to wear broken shoes to work. But wanting didn't fix anything. Danny sat on his bed, the shoe in his lap, feeling completely lost. The afternoon sun was starting to fade, making long shadows across his room. Soon it would be time to go to Mrs. Patterson's for dinner. His mom wouldn't be home until 9 or 10 at night. Exhausted from her double shift, and tomorrow morning, she'd wake up and put on these same broken shoes, wrapped in fresh duct tape, and head back to work. That image in his mind, that picture of his mom shuffling out the door in taped-up shoes, made something inside Danny shift. The frustration turned into something else, something harder and more determined. He couldn't give up. Not yet. There had to be a way. Danny thought about all the times he'd seen things get fixed. The time the TV had stopped working, and his mom had wiggled some wires in the back until it came on again. The time the bathroom faucet had leaked and the landlord had sent someone to replace a little rubber ring inside it. The time Leo's bike tire had gone flat and Leo's dad had patched it with a kit from the store. People fix things all the time. They use the right tools, the right materials. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe Danny didn't have the right stuff to fix the shoes. Maybe he needed help, but who could help? His mom was at work. He didn't have a dad to ask. Leo's dad might know something, but Leo's family lived across town now, and Danny couldn't just show up at their door. Then he thought of someone. Mr. Chen. The old man who lived 3 doors down. Danny had seen him lots of times coming and going with tools and supplies. Mr. Chen fixed things. He fixed his own car sometimes in the parking lot.
He'd helped the landlord fix the stairs last month.
Danny had even seen him walking around with broken toasters and lamps that he'd pick up from the trash and take back to his apartment. Danny had never really talked to Mr. Chen much. The old man kept to himself mostly, always polite but quiet. Danny wasn't even sure if Mr. Chen spoke much English, but he had tools, real tools, and he knew how to fix things. The idea scared Danny a little. He wasn't good at talking to adults he didn't know well. What if Mr. Chen said no? What if he thought Danny was bothering him? What if he couldn't help either? But then Danny looked at the shoe again, at the gap between the sole and the rest of it, and he knew he had to try. He carefully put the duct tape back on the shoe, wrapped it around the way his mom did, and made sure it was secure. Then he grabbed the shoe and headed out of the apartment. Mrs. Patterson saw him walking down the hallway. "Danny, where you going, honey?" "Just to see Mr. Chen," Danny called back. "I'll be right back." Before Mrs. Patterson could ask why, Danny was already knocking on Mr. Chen's door. There was no answer at first. Danny knocked again, harder this time. He heard movement inside, slow footsteps, and then the door opened. Mr. Chen stood there, looking surprised to see Danny. He was a small man, shorter than most adults Danny knew, with gray hair and wrinkles around his eyes. He was wearing an old work shirt with stains on it and was holding a screwdriver in one hand. "Yes?" Mr. Chen said. His voice was quiet, gentle. Danny suddenly felt all his words jumble up in his head. He lifted the shoe, holding it up for Mr. Chen to see. "My mom's shoe is broken," he said, the words coming out in a rush. "I tried to fix it, but I can't. The sole is coming off, and she has to wear them to work, and she wraps tape around them every day, but it keeps peeling off, and I don't know how to fix it, and I thought maybe you might know because you fix things, and I know I'm just a kid, but I really want to help her because she works so hard and—" "Slow down," Mr. Chen said, but he was smiling a little. He looked at the shoe in Danny's hand, then at Danny's face. Something in his expression softened. "Come," he said simply, stepping back and opening the door wider. Danny hesitated for just a second, then stepped inside. Mr. Chen's apartment was different from Danny's. It was filled with stuff, but organized stuff. There were shelves with tools on them, old radios and clocks, boxes of screws and nails. In one corner was a workbench with a lamp over it. It smelled like metal and oil and old wood. "Show me," Mr. Chen said, pointing to the shoe. Danny handed it over, and Mr. Chen turned it in his hands, examining it carefully. He pulled off the duct tape and looked at where the sole had separated. He pressed on different parts of it, testing how loose it was. Then he nodded like he understood the problem. "This can fix," he said, "but need right glue. Need patience." He looked at Danny. "You want to learn?" Danny's heart leaped. "Yes, sir," he said. "I really do." Mr. Chen smiled properly, then his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Okay," he said. "We fix together." Mr. Chen moved slowly and deliberately, the way someone does when they've done something 1,000 times before. He set the shoe down on his workbench under the bright lamp and pulled over a stool for Danny to sit on. Then he went to one of his shelves and started gathering supplies. "First," Mr. Chen said, holding up a wire brush, "we clean. Very important. Cannot glue dirty surface. Glue need clean surface to hold strong." He handed Danny the brush and showed him how to scrub the edge of the sole where the glue would go. Danny worked carefully, brushing away the old dried glue and dirt that had built up. Little flakes of rubber and gunk fell onto the newspaper Mr. Chen had spread on the workbench. "Good," Mr. Chen said, watching Danny work. "Take your time, no rush. Rush makes bad repair." While Danny cleaned the sole, Mr. Chen cleaned the other part, the upper section of the shoe where the sole had pulled away. He used the wire brush first, then switched to a cloth with some kind of cleaner on it that smelled sharp and strong. "This remove oil, dirt, everything," Mr. Chen explained. "Make surface ready for glue." Danny's arm started to hurt from all the scrubbing, but he didn't stop. He thought about his mom, about how she'd scrubbed these same shoes trying to keep them looking decent. If she could work that hard, he could scrub a little longer. When Mr. Chen was satisfied that both surfaces were clean enough, he got up and went to a cabinet on the wall. Inside were bottles and tubes of different things, all labeled in writing Danny couldn't read. Mr. Chen studied them for a moment, then selected a tube of glue. "This shoe glue," he said, showing it to Danny. "Very strong. Professional use. Not like toy glue." He opened the tube and squeezed a thin line of glue along the edge of the sole. The glue was clear and thick, moving slowly. "Not too much," Mr. Chen said. "Too much make mess. Little bit. Spread even." He gave Danny a small wooden stick like a popsicle stick and showed him how to spread the glue evenly across the surface. Danny focused hard, trying to get it just right. His tongue stuck out a little while he concentrated, something he did without realizing. "Now," Mr. Chen said, "we wait." "Wait?" Danny asked, confused. "Don't we stick it together now?" Mr. Chen shook his head. "Glue need to be tacky first. Not wet but sticky. 5 minutes, maybe 6. If we press now, glue squish out, make mess. Not hold strong." Danny nodded, trying to be patient. Mr. Chen set a timer on an old kitchen timer that sat on his workbench, the kind that ticked loudly as it counted down. While they waited, Mr. Chen showed Danny some of the other things he was working on. There was an old radio with its back panel open, wires and components visible inside. "People throw away," Mr. Chen said. "But radio just need new capacitor. Small part, cheap part, then work again like new." There was a lamp with a frayed cord that Mr. Chen had replaced, a picture frame he'd reglued, a wooden box with a broken hinge that he'd carefully repaired. Danny looked around at all of it, amazed. "You fix everything?" Danny asked. Mr. Chen smiled. "I fix what I can. Cannot fix everything. But most things, if broken, can be repaired. People forget this. They throw away, buy new. But old things, fixed right, can last long time." The timer rang, a loud burring that made Danny jump. Mr. Chen touched the glue on the sole carefully with his finger. "Good," he said. "Now tacky. Now we apply glue to other side." He put glue on the upper part of the shoe, the part the sole would attach to, and spread it evenly just like before. Then he set the timer again. "Both sides need glue," Mr. Chen explained. "Make stronger bond. Like 2 hands reaching for each other, not just 1 hand reaching." Danny liked that image. 2 hands reaching for each other. He thought about him and his mom, both reaching, both trying. When the timer rang the second time, Mr. Chen showed Danny how to carefully press the sole against the shoe. Start here, he said, showing Danny where to begin. Press firm, but not too hard. Work your way around slow. Danny pressed the sole into place, moving inch by inch around the edge of the shoe. Mr. Chen guided his hands, showing him where to press harder, where to be gentler. The glue held immediately, much better than the little tube Danny had tried at home. But Mr. Chen wasn't done. He went back to his shelves and got metal clamps, small ones that looked like they could pinch if you weren't careful. He positioned them around the shoe, clamping the sole tight against the upper section. Now we wait again, Mr. Chen said. Glue say wait 4 hours for full strength. We give it time. Danny's face fell. 4 hours? His mom would be home by then. He wanted to have the shoes fixed before she got back. Mr. Chen saw his expression and patted his shoulder. Cannot rush good repair, he said gently. But we can do more while we wait. Make it stronger. He got out a spool of thick thread, the kind that looked more like thin rope, and a curved needle that Danny had never seen before. Mr. Chen threaded the needle and showed Danny how to poke it through the sole and the upper part of the shoe, stitching them together. This called cobbler stitch, Mr. Chen said. Very old way to repair shoes. My father teach me when I was boy in China. Now I teach you. Danny watched closely as Mr. Chen made the first few stitches, pulling the thread tight. Then Mr. Chen handed the needle to Danny. You try. Danny's first few stitches were clumsy. The needle was hard to push through the tough rubber and leather. His fingers weren't strong enough and he had to use both hands. But Mr. Chen was patient, showing him again and again how to angle the needle, how to pull the thread through. Slowly, Danny got the hang of it. He stitched along the edge of the sole, following Mr. Chen's guidance. Each stitch pulled the sole a little tighter against the shoe. By the time he'd gone all the way around, Danny's fingers hurt and his shoulders were tired. But the shoe looked different. It looked stronger. Very good, Mr. Chen said, examining Danny's work. He tied off the thread and cut it with scissors. Then he got out some kind of clear sealant and carefully applied it over the stitches and along the seam where the sole met the shoe. This protects stitches from water and dirt, he explained. Make repair last longer. The whole process had taken over an hour. Danny couldn't believe how much work went into fixing one shoe. But looking at it now, sitting on Mr. Chen's workbench with the clamps still holding it together, Danny felt a surge of pride. They'd done it. They'd actually fixed it. Now, Mr. Chen said, we wait for glue to cure completely. You come back in 3 hours, we remove clamps, check work. 3 hours. Danny's mom wouldn't be home until 9 or 9:30. If he came back at 8, he'd have time to get the shoe before she got home. Thank you, Danny said, and the words felt too small for what he was feeling. Thank you so much, Mr. Chen. The old man waved his hand like it was nothing. You did work too, he said. You learn fast. That is good. Danny started to leave, but Mr. Chen stopped him. Wait, he said. He went to another shelf and pulled down a small tube of the same glue they'd used. You take this. For later, if need touch-up. This glue very strong, lasts long time. Danny took the glue carefully, holding it like it was precious, which to him it was. And Danny, Mr. Chen said, his voice serious. Your mama, she very lucky. Not because of shoe. Lucky because she have son who notice. Who care, who try to help. That more valuable than any shoe. Danny felt his throat get tight. He nodded, not trusting himself to speak, and hurried out of the apartment. Back in his own apartment, Danny stood in the living room, suddenly feeling the weight of what he'd done. The shoe was being fixed. In a few hours, it would be ready. His mom would be able to wear it without the duct tape, without the squeaking, without the sole flopping around. Mrs. Patterson knocked on the door. Danny, you coming for dinner, sweetheart? Danny had almost forgotten. Yes, ma'am, he called back. Just 1 second. He went to his mom's area and picked up the other shoe, the left one. It wasn't as bad as the right one, but it was still worn. The sole was starting to separate in a few places, not badly yet, but it would get there eventually. Danny looked at the tube of glue Mr. Chen had given him. He thought about what Mr. Chen had said about fixing things before they broke completely, about taking care of things so they lasted longer. He'd fix the other shoe too. Not tonight, there wasn't time, but soon. Maybe he could even learn to maintain them, to catch problems before they got bad. Danny put the shoe back and went to Mrs. Patterson's for dinner. She'd made spaghetti, his favorite, and normally he would have eaten 2 bowls. But tonight he was too excited, too full of nervous energy. He kept thinking about the shoe sitting on Mr. Chen's workbench, the glue curing, the stitches holding everything together. "You okay, Danny?" Mrs. Patterson asked. "You seem distracted." "I'm fine," Danny said, smiling. "Just thinking about something." At 8 o'clock, Danny told Mrs. Patterson he needed to check on something at home. She let him go, reminding him to lock the door behind him. Danny ran down the hallway to Mr. Chen's apartment and knocked. Mr. Chen opened the door and smiled. "Right on time," he said. "Come see." The shoe was sitting on the workbench, the clamps removed. Mr. Chen picked it up and flexed it gently. The sole stayed firmly attached. He turned it over, examining his and Danny's work. The stitches were neat and even. The sealant had dried clear and smooth. "This shoe," Mr. Chen said, "will last many more months now. Maybe 6 months, maybe more. Your mama can wear this to work tomorrow with no tape." Danny took the shoe, holding it carefully. It felt heavier somehow, more solid. Looking at it, you could see where they'd worked on it. The stitches were visible, and the sealant made the seam look different. But it was fixed. It was whole. "Thank you, Mr. Chen," Danny said again. "I couldn't have done this without you." "You came to ask for help," Mr. Chen said. "That take courage. That is first step. You will remember what you learned today. Maybe someday you help someone else." Danny nodded, clutching the shoe to his chest. He would remember. He'd remember all of it. Danny sat on his bed, the repaired shoe beside him, watching the clock on his nightstand. 8:25, 8:30, 8:45. Every minute felt like an hour. He'd told Mrs. Patterson he was doing homework, which was technically true. He had his workbook open on his lap, but his eyes kept drifting to the clock, then to the shoe, then back to the clock. His mom usually got home around 9:15 when she worked a double shift, sometimes earlier if the diner was slow, sometimes later if they were busy and she had to help close up. 9 o'clock came and went. Danny's stomach fluttered with nerves and excitement. He kept picking up the shoe, examining it, running his fingers over the stitches he'd helped make. It really did look different. Not brand new, but fixed, solid, whole. At 9:20, Danny heard footsteps in the hallway outside. The shuffled tap sound he knew so well, but different now, slower, heavier. His mom always came home tired after a double shift. The key turned in the lock. Danny jumped up from his bed, grabbed the shoe, and ran to the door just as his mom pushed it open. Teresa looked exhausted. Her hair was falling out of her ponytail, and there was a stain on her uniform shirt that looked like coffee or gravy. Her eyes had that worn-down look they got after a really long day. But when she saw Danny standing there, her face softened into a smile. "Hey, baby," she said, setting her purse down. "You should be getting ready for bed. It's a school night." "I know, Ma, but I have to show you something," Danny said. The words tumbled out fast, his excitement overriding everything else. "I fixed it. Well, Mr. Chen helped me, but I did a lot of it. Look." He held up the shoe. Teresa stared at it. She blinked like she wasn't sure what she was seeing. Then she took the shoe from Danny's hands, turning it over slowly. She looked at the bottom, at the stitches running along where the sole had been separated. She pressed on the sole, testing it. It didn't move. It didn't flop. "It was attached, Danny," she said quietly. "What did you do?" "I fixed your shoe," Danny said, the words coming out in a rush now. "I tried to do it myself first, but my glue wasn't strong enough and the nails couldn't go through the rubber, so I went to Mr. Chen and he had real shoe glue, and he showed me how to clean the surfaces first, and then we put glue on both sides and waited for it to get tacky, and then we pressed it together, and he gave me clamps, and then he taught me how to stitch it with a special needle and thread, and we sealed it so water won't get in, and he said it should last 6 months or maybe more, and you won't have to use duct tape anymore, and—" "Wait, slow down," Teresa said, but she was starting to smile. A real smile, not the tired one she'd had when she walked in. "You did this? You and Mr. Chen?" "Yes, ma'am," Danny said, nodding so hard his whole body moved. "I wanted to help. Your shoes were falling apart, and I heard you on the phone saying you couldn't afford new ones right now, and I just thought maybe I could fix them instead." Teresa's eyes got shiny. She looked at the shoe again, then at Danny, then back at the shoe. Her hand came up to cover her mouth, and Danny realized she was trying not to cry. "Ma?" he said, worried now. "Are you mad?" "I'm sorry if I shouldn't have bothered Mr. Chen. I just wanted to help and—" "Mad?" Teresa said, her voice thick. She set the shoe down carefully and pulled Danny into a tight hug. "Oh, baby. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at all." She held him for a long moment and Danny felt her shoulders shaking a little. He hugged her back, breathing in the smell of coffee and grease and his mom's shampoo. When she finally pulled back, there were tears on her cheeks, but she was smiling. "Let me try it on," she said. She sat down on the couch and pulled off the shoe she was wearing, the left one. Then she picked up the repaired right shoe and slid her foot into it. She laced it up and stood, taking a few steps across the living room. Danny watched nervously. What if it didn't fit right? What if it hurt her foot? What if the repair wasn't good enough? But Teresa kept walking. She walked to the kitchen and back. She walked down the little hallway to the bathroom and back. She stopped and did a little bounce on her feet, testing it. "It's perfect," she said, looking at Danny with wonder in her eyes. "It's better than it's been in months. How did you learn to do this?" "Mr. Chen taught me," Danny said. "He said his dad taught him when he was a kid. He was really nice about it, Ma. He didn't mind helping at all." Teresa shook her head slowly, still looking at the shoe on her foot. "I need to thank him," she said. "Tomorrow I'll go talk to him." "He gave me this too," Danny said, running to get the tube of glue from his room. He brought it back and showed her. "He said if the shoe needs a touch-up later, we can use this. And Ma, I was thinking, maybe I could fix your other shoe too, before it gets as bad as this one was. Mr. Chen said it's better to fix things before they break all the way." Teresa sat back down on the couch, and Danny sat next to her. She was quiet for a minute, just looking at her son. Then she put her arm around him and pulled him close. "When did you get so grown up?" she asked softly. Danny shrugged against her side. "I'm still just 8. Just 8, Teresa repeated. She laughed a little, but it sounded like crying too. "My 8-year-old just fixed my shoes because he knew I couldn't afford new ones." "You work really hard, Ma," Danny said. "I see how tired you are. I hear you on the phone worrying about money." "I just wanted to do something." To help, Teresa was quiet again. Then she said, "Danny, look at me." He sat up and looked at his mom. She had tears on her cheeks still, but she wasn't sad. She looked like she was feeling too many things at once, and they were all spilling over. "I need you to understand something," she said. "I work hard because I want to give you a good life. I want you to have what you need. And yeah, sometimes money is tight. Sometimes things are harder than I want them to be. But you know what? You fixing these shoes, that tells me everything I need to know." "About what?" Danny asked. "About whether I'm doing okay as your mom," Teresa said. "You see someone struggling, someone you love, and your first thought is, how can I help? You don't just wish things were different. You try to make them different. That's who you are, and that's the most important thing I could ever teach you." Danny felt his own eyes get watery. "I learned it from you," he said. "You help people all the time. You help Mrs. Patterson when she needs groceries. You give your shifts to other people at work when they need extra hours. You always help." Teresa pulled him into another hug. "We help each other," she said. "That's what family does." They sat like that for a while, just holding each other in the quiet apartment. Outside, Danny could hear cars going by, neighbors moving around in their apartments, all the normal sounds of their building at night. But inside, everything felt still and warm and safe. Eventually, Teresa pulled back and wiped her eyes. "Okay," she said, trying to sound normal even though her voice was still shaky. "It's way past your bedtime, mister. School tomorrow." "Yes, ma'am," Danny said. He started to get up but then stopped. "Ma, can I fix the other shoe this weekend?" "Mr. Chen said I could come back if I wanted to learn more." Teresa smiled. "Yes, baby, we can do that. And I'm going to bake something for Mr. Chen to say thank you." "He'd like that," Danny said. "He's nice. He told me lots of stories while we were waiting for the glue to dry." Teresa stood up and took a few more steps in the repaired shoe. She looked down at it, flexing her foot. "This really is good work," she said. "I can't believe you did this." "We did it," Danny corrected. "Me and Mr. Chen together." "You and Mr. Chen together," Teresa agreed. She walked over and kissed the top of Danny's head. "Go brush your teeth and get in bed. I'll come say goodnight in a minute." Danny went to the bathroom and brushed his teeth, looking at himself in the mirror. He looked the same as he always did. Same face, same hair sticking up a little in the back. Same 8-year-old kid. But he felt different. He felt like he'd done something that mattered. Something real. When he was in bed, his mom came and sat on the edge of it like she did every night. "You know what?" she said. "What?" "I'm going to wear these shoes to work tomorrow, and every time I take a step, I'm going to think about my amazing son who spent his whole evening fixing them for me. They might squeak a little, Danny warned. The stitches are kind of thick. Teresa laughed, a real laugh this time. I don't care if they squeak. They're my favorite shoes now. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. I love you, Danny. More than you could ever know. I love you too, Ma, Danny said. And Ma, we're gonna be okay, right? Teresa smiled, wobbled a little, but she nodded. Yeah, baby. We're gonna be okay. We've got each other and we've got good neighbors and we know how to fix things when they break. That's more than a lot of people have. She turned off his lamp and stood in the doorway for a moment, her silhouette outlined by the light from the living room. Get some sleep, she said softly. And Danny, thank you for seeing what needed fixing and not giving up until you found a way. After she closed the door, Danny lay in the dark, listening to his mom moving around the apartment. He heard her in the kitchen, probably making her lunch for tomorrow. He heard the water run as she washed her face. He heard the familiar sounds of home. And for the first time in a long time, even though nothing had really changed about their situation, even though they still lived in the same old apartment and money was still tight, and his mom still had to work double shifts, Danny felt like everything was going to be okay. Because sometimes fixing what's broken, even something as simple as a shoe, reminds you that not everything that's damaged has to stay that way. Sometimes, with the right help and enough determination, you can make things whole again. And that was something worth holding on to. The next morning started differently than usual. When Danny woke up, the first thing he heard wasn't the shuffle tap of his mom's footsteps. It was humming. His mom was humming some old song while she moved around the kitchen. And when Danny came out, still rubbing sleep from his eyes, she was standing at the counter making breakfast with both of the shoes on her feet. Morning, baby, she said, and her voice was lighter than it had been in weeks, maybe months, Danny noticed immediately. The shoes. She was wearing both of them, the repaired right one and the still taped left one, and she was standing differently, he realized. Not favoring one foot over the other. Not wincing when she put weight on her right side. Just standing normal, the way people should stand. How do they feel? Danny asked, sliding into his chair. Like a miracle, Teresa said, flipping a pancake. I forgot what it felt like to not have my foot sliding around inside a shoe with a floppy sole. This is such a difference, Danny, such a huge difference. She poured him some juice and set a plate of pancakes in front of him. Real pancakes, not the frozen kind. She must have been up extra early to make them from scratch. Are these because of the shoes? Danny asked, poking at his pancakes with a fork. Teresa laughed. These are because I have an amazing son who deserves pancakes. They ate breakfast together, and for once neither of them was rushing. Teresa didn't have to work until the afternoon shift today, so they actually had time. Danny told her about a project he was working on at school. She told him about a customer at the diner who'd left her a really good tip yesterday, enough to put a little extra in savings. It felt normal. It felt good. It felt like maybe things were looking up, even if just a little bit. After breakfast, Teresa said she wanted to go talk to Mr. Chen. Danny went with her, and they knocked on his door together. When Mr. Chen opened it and saw both of them standing there, his wrinkled face broke into a smile. Good morning, he said. Mr. Chen, Teresa said, and Danny could hear emotion in her voice already. I need to thank you for what you did yesterday. For my son and for me. You didn't have to help him, but you did, and I can't tell you what that means to us. Mr. Chen waved his hand like it was nothing. The boy came to me with a problem. I have tools, I have knowledge. Why not share? It's simple. It's not simple, Teresa said firmly. It's kind and generous. And I want to do something to thank you. I'm going to bake you something. What do you like, cookies? Cake? Pie? You don't need to, Mr. Chen started, but Teresa cut him off. I need to, she said. Please let me do this. Mr. Chen looked at her for a moment, then at Danny, then back at her. Okay, he said. I like apple pie. My wife, before she passed, she made good apple pie. I miss that. Apple pie it is, Teresa said, her voice soft. I'll bring you one this weekend. And Mr. Chen, Danny said, can I come back on Saturday? To fix the other shoe? And maybe learn some other stuff? Mr. Chen's smile got bigger. Yes, he said. You come Saturday. We fix other shoe, and I show you other things. How to fix bicycle, maybe. How to sharpen knife. Useful things. I'd like that, Danny said. After they said goodbye and went back to their apartment, Teresa got ready for work. Danny watched her lace up the repaired shoe, and he felt that same swell of pride from last night. He'd done that, well, him and Mr. Chen, but still, he'd helped make his mom's life a little bit easier. At school that day, Danny's teacher noticed something different about him. During class, when she asked if anyone had done something they were proud of recently, Danny raised his hand. He usually didn't volunteer much in class, but today he wanted to share. "I fixed my mom's shoe," he said when the teacher called on him. Some of the kids laughed like it was a joke, but Danny didn't care. He explained about the sole coming off, about asking Mr. Chen for help, about learning to clean the surfaces and apply the glue and do the stitching. His teacher listened with genuine interest. "That's wonderful, Danny," she said. "You identified a problem and found a solution, and you weren't afraid to ask for help when you needed it. Those are really important skills." One of the other kids, a girl named Lisa who always had nice clothes and new shoes, raised her hand. "Why didn't your mom just buy new shoes?" she asked, and there was no meanness in her voice, just curiosity. Danny thought about how to answer. He could have been embarrassed. A year ago, he might have been. But now he just said, "Because new shoes cost money, and sometimes you don't have extra money for stuff like that. So you fix what you have instead." His teacher nodded approvingly. "That's right," she said. "And fixing things is often better than replacing them anyway. It's better for the environment, and you learn valuable skills." At lunch, Leo asked Danny more about fixing the shoes. "That's actually pretty cool," Leo said. "My dad throws away anything that breaks. He doesn't know how to fix stuff." "Mr. Chen knows how to fix everything," Danny said. "He said he's going to teach me more things. Can I come sometime?" Leo asked. "That sounds fun." Danny hadn't thought about that. "I'll ask him," he said. "Maybe. I think he'd like teaching more kids." The idea made Danny smile. Maybe Mr. Chen was lonely, living by himself in that apartment full of tools and broken things he was fixing. Maybe he missed having people to teach, to share his knowledge with. Danny decided he'd ask this Saturday if Leo could come sometime. That afternoon when Danny got home, Mrs. Patterson was waiting outside her door like usual. But today she had something in her hands, a small bag. "Danny," she said, "I heard what you did for your mama. That was real sweet of you. I brought these over for you." She handed him the bag. Inside were 2 granola bars and an apple. "Just a little something extra," she said, "for being such a good boy." "Thank you, Mrs. Patterson," Danny said, surprised and touched. Word had gotten around the building somehow. At dinner time, when Danny went to Mrs. Patterson's apartment because his mom was still at work, Mrs. Patterson told him that she'd mentioned it to a few neighbors. "Everyone thinks it's wonderful," she said. "We need more kids like you in this world." Danny felt his face get hot. He wasn't used to this much attention, but it felt good too, knowing that people noticed, that they thought he'd done something worthwhile. On Saturday, Danny went back to Mr. Chen's apartment with his mom's other shoe. This time, he knew what to do. Mr. Chen supervised, but he let Danny do most of the work himself. Cleaning the surfaces, applying the glue, pressing it together, putting on the clamps, doing the stitches. Danny's hands were sure this time, more confident. "You remember well," Mr. Chen said, watching him work. "This is sign of good student." While they waited for the glue to cure, Mr. Chen showed Danny how to fix a leaky faucet using washers and plumber's tape. He showed him how to patch a hole in drywall. He showed him how to replace a light switch. Danny soaked it all up like a sponge, asking questions, taking mental notes. "Why do you know how to fix all this stuff?" Danny asked at one point. Mr. Chen sat down on his stool, his hands resting on his knees. "When I come to America," he said, "I am a young man. I have no money, no connections, no fancy education. But I have hands that work, and I have brain that can learn, so I learn everything I can. I fix things for people, they pay me little bit. I save money, I study, I work hard." "Did it get easier?" Danny asked. "After a while?" "Yes and no," Mr. Chen said thoughtfully. "Life always have challenges, but when you know how to fix things, how to solve problems, you feel less helpless. You feel like you have some control. That is valuable feeling." Danny understood exactly what he meant. That helpless feeling he'd had, sitting on his bed with his mom's broken shoe, not knowing how to help. And then the different feeling, the better feeling when he'd learned he could actually do something about it. "My wife and I," Mr. Chen continued, "we fixed things together for 40 years. Our house, our car, our appliances. We never throw away if we can repair. She passed away 3 years ago and I still fix things. Is how I remember her. Is how I stay busy. Is how I still feel useful. You are useful, Danny said firmly. You helped me. You're teaching me. That's really useful. Mr. Chen smiled, his eyes crinkling. You are good boy, Danny. Your mama raised you right. When the shoe was finished, Danny held both of them, one in each hand. A matched pair now, both repaired, both sturdy, both ready to last a while longer. He felt a deep satisfaction looking at them. This was something real, something tangible that he'd accomplished. He brought them home and set them by his mom's bed area while she was still at work. He left a note next to them, both fixed. Love, Danny. When Teresa came home that night, she found the shoes and the note. She stood there for a long moment just looking at them. Then she picked up both shoes, held them to her chest and cried. But they were good tears, the kind that came when you were overwhelmed with love and gratitude, and the realization that you weren't as alone as you sometimes felt. The next morning, she wore both repaired shoes to church. She usually didn't go to church much because she was always working, but Sunday morning she had off and she wanted to go. She wanted to say thank you, in whatever way she knew how, for her son and for kind neighbors and for the small miracles that showed up in everyday life. Danny went with her. He sat in the pew next to his mom, listening to the singing, watching the light come through the stained glass windows. He didn't think about the shoes during the service. He just sat there, feeling his mom's hand holding his, feeling like they were part of something bigger than just the two of them. After church, they walked home slowly, not rushing for once. Teresa pointed out things along the way, stuff Danny had probably seen 100 times but never really noticed. The way the old oak tree on the corner had roots that pushed up the sidewalk. The mural on the side of the grocery store that someone had painted years ago. The way the light hit the buildings in the morning. You know what I've been thinking about? Teresa said as they walked. What? How easy it is to feel like we don't have enough. We don't have a lot of money. We don't have a big house or new cars or fancy things. And sometimes, I'll be honest, that bothers me. I want to give you more. Danny started, but she held up her hand. Let me finish, she said. But then something like this happens. You see a problem and you fix it. You ask for help from a neighbor who becomes a teacher. You learn something valuable. And I realize that we have so much more than I give us credit for. We have each other. We have kind people around us. We have the ability to learn and grow and solve problems. Those things matter more than money. She looked down at her shoes as they walked. These shoes remind me of that now. Every time I wear them, I'll remember that what we have is enough. That we are enough. That love and effort and community can fix a lot of what feels broken. Danny thought about that. He thought about how scared he'd been that his mom would have to miss work because of her shoes. How worried he'd been that he couldn't help. How desperate he'd felt to do something, anything to make things better. And he thought about how all of that had led to something good. Not just fixed shoes, but new friendships, new skills, new confidence. A reminder that they weren't alone. Ma, Danny said, can I tell you something? Always. I was really scared when I saw you crying about your shoes. I felt like it was my fault somehow. Like if we didn't have to buy stuff for me, you'd have money for new shoes.